The story of Genghis Khan between brutality, trauma, and genius in building the greatest empire in human history. History usually begins in the palace. This story begins with famine. There were no prophecies, there were no signs of greatness. Just a skinny child on the Mongolian steppe, staring at his father's stiff corpse, poisoned, abandoned, and forgotten by the world. The boy's name was Temujin. And the world didn't know that it was witnessing the birth of the bloodiest dream in human history. He wasn't born a conqueror, he was born a child abandoned by the world. His childhood name was Temujin. A throne, none. Wealth, none. Protection. Even his own family nearly lost everything. But from that frozen ground and the blood of betrayal was born the man who would make half the world tremble at the mere sound of his name. Genghis Khan. On the Mongolian steppe, the laws of nature are crueler than the laws of man. If a clan chief dies, his family dies with him slowly. After Temujin's father was poisoned, his clan did the most heinous thing. His mother was banished. He was betrayed by his own clan, enslaved, no protection, no food, no mercy. And according to the laws of the steppe, a family without a protector does not deserve to live. His mother taught Temujin to hunt mice, to forage for roots, to eat carrion. At a very young age, Temujin learned a lesson that would shape his entire life. The world is unfair and mercy is a lie. Starvation not only ravaged his body, it eroded empathy. And there, in utter humiliation, history began to unravel. One day, his half-brother stole the family's catch. In the normal world, this would be a minor conflict. On the steppe, it was a matter of life and death. Temujin took an arrow and killed him. It wasn't a murder driven by rage, it was a murder driven by cold rationality. And from that day on, Temujin understood. The world hears only of resolute violence. Soon after, Temujin was captured by an enemy clan. His neck was shackled to a large wooden plank. He was displayed as a slave. Humiliated, guarded, stripped of his dignity. But there he observed humanity without them realizing it. He saw negligent guards. He saw corrupt systems. He saw that power always leaks. And one night, he escaped. Not by strength, with an understanding of human weakness. Temujin fled alone, hunted, with no guarantee of life tomorrow. But that escape gave him something more dangerous than a sword, an understanding of humankind. He saw how power works, how loyalty is bought, how fear is more effective than promises. Temujin didn't grow up to be a good man, he grew up to be an effective man. And the world is more often conquered by the latter. When Temujin began gathering followers, he did something radical, even revolutionary. He didn't choose people based on blood or nobility. He gathered the broken, slaves, traitors, people with nowhere to go. And to them, Temujin offered something revolutionary: equality and loyalty. He chose based on ability and loyalty. A slave son could become a general, and a capable enemy could become a brother. In a feudal world that worshipped lineage, Temujin created a brutal meritocracy. And the result, an army more loyal than family. In his army, no royal blood, no caste, no tribal lines, there was simply, obey or die. And strangely enough, they chose to obey, because Temujin gave them meaning. When all the Mongolian clans submitted, Temujin was given the title, Genghis Khan. Not king, not emperor, but ruler of all under the blue sky. And from then on, war was no longer the goal, but the means of communication. City after city fell, kingdom after kingdom collapsed. Bukhara, Samarkand, Beijing, Baghdad. If they surrendered, they lived. If they resisted, they were wiped off the map. Not out of anger, not out of hatred, but out of efficiency. One great slaughter could prevent dozens of smaller wars, and the world learned quickly. Genghis Khan's name became a psychological weapon. Fortresses crumbled before being attacked, gates opened without resistance. He ruled the world by reputation. And here's the most terrifying paradox. Genghis Khan's cruelty saved millions of lives, because word of his cruelty led cities to surrender without a fight. Western historians often call him a butcher, and they're not wrong. Amidst the blood and ashes, Genghis Khan built a system far ahead of its time. Transcontinental trade routes, protection of diplomatic envoys, total religious freedom, and the abolition of systematic torture. Through his strict and uniform Yasa legal system, he united East and West hundreds of years before globalization was even known. He opened transcontinental trade routes. He burned the old world, and then built a modern world more connected than ever before. Ironic, vicious, and efficient. Within a single generation, the Mongol Empire became the largest in human history. Vast beyond Rome. Faster than anyone before. Despite conquering half the world, Genghis Khan lived in a tent, rejected a grand palace, and ate like his soldiers. He knew one thing many rulers fail to understand. Power crumbles when its leader becomes disconnected from reality. He didn't rule from a throne, he ruled from fear and clarity of vision. Genghis Khan died. The story of his death shrouded in mystery and without a trace. He didn't rule from a throne, he ruled from fear and clarity of vision. There are no grand monuments, there is no known tomb. And the location of his remains remains a secret to this day. The troops who buried him killed anyone who witnessed the procession. Then he committed suicide. Even after his death, he refused to be an object. It was as if he wanted to disappear from history. And now, listen carefully, Genghis Khan didn't want to be remembered as a conqueror. In his Yasa laws, he wrote about unity, justice, and world order. He wanted to create a world without tribal or blood boundaries. And the irony? Approximately 16 million men alive today carry Genghis Khan's DNA. He failed to conquer the world forever. But he succeeded in becoming a part of humanity itself. The most shocking twist is that Village Bow, abandoned by the world, turns out to be the ancestor of the world itself. And perhaps the most terrifying lesson of this story isn't the cruelty, but the fact that the world isn't always won by the most moral, but by those who best understand how the world works. Genghis Khan wasn't a hero, nor was he simply a monster. He was the extreme product of an extreme world. And perhaps the most terrifying question isn't, why was he so cruel? But rather, if we had been born in the same place and time, would we have been different? Because from a starving village boy was born a legend that changed the face of the world. And the world never truly recovered from it. He is a dark mirror of human civilization. And that mirror still reflects us to this day.